Okay, Boker Tov. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rabbi David Aaron, and I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, but I have a Brooklyn accent because I made Aliyah 30 years ago, and I'm living in Israel. I learned how to speak Brooklyn. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining my session. A number of years ago, I was asked to give a talk in a synagogue on the Upper West Side. The topic was the Jewish way to immortality. Well, there was a publicity mistake, and what went out there was the Jewish way to immorality. Now, needless to say, I got a very big crowd. Nobody liked my talk, right? Well, so today I want to talk about living on purpose, getting in touch with our connection to God, finding joy in our lives, and especially finding joy in our lives because of and through our connection to God. Now, I find that Carl Jung, famous Swiss psychologist, said, only the wounded doctor can heal, right? And I've taken that personally, and I kind of believe only the wounded rabbi can heal. Because the things that I share are the things that I've struggled with. I've written 8 books, but I didn't write those books for you, actually. I didn't even know I was writing or researching a book. I was just trying to figure out God and myself and to find more happiness and peace in my life. You see, when I was a child, my mother, I knew my mother was a Holocaust survivor. But my mother never talked about the Holocaust. There's different kinds of survivors. Some talk a lot about it. I've actually been told that it's a lot harder to have parents that talk a lot about the Holocaust. So I guess I'm blessed that my mother didn't talk at all about the Holocaust. I guess my mother just simply didn't want us to suffer and know these stories, okay? But when I was a little boy, in the middle of the night, I woke up to the screaming of my mother. And she was having a nightmare. I don't know what the nightmare was. I assumed it was the concentration camp. And I couldn't fall back asleep. And I was lying there, and my mind was bombarded with questions. Tons of questions. Is there a God? And if there's a God, is he good? And if he's so good, why is the world so bad? And if we're the chosen people, I wish he chose somebody else, And these questions haunted me as a child. I had all these questions about life, about God, about being Jewish, about pain, about happiness. At a very young age, I was already born to be a philosopher. I had no choice to the matter. It's not like, hey, what would I like to be grow up, right? I have a choice. I was thrown into this position because I was faced with pain, sadness. My mother, she was not a depressed person, but she was scarred by Hitler, that's for sure, right? I never saw my mother have a big belly laugh, right? There's sometimes a little chuckle. But I maybe projected all this on her. I really don't know, but didn't feel my mother could be happy losing her parents at such a young age and all that. And I remember even growing up feeling a little guilty whenever I would be happy that maybe I was abandoning my mother, right? That maybe I didn't have the right to be happy if she's not happy because I'm not empathizing with her pain, right? And all this could have been all in my head. There's no way of knowing, right? Because my mother never talked about it, right? She actually did do an interview with the Shoah Foundation, and she hid the video. We didn't even know that she did a video. I only found out from my cousin because my aunt, my mother's sister, told my cousin that my mother did this interview. I didn't even know that, right? My mother hid the interview. My sister and I only found the interview after my mother passed away. So I only know my mother's story in the last couple of years ago, right? I didn't know her story. Anyway, so I struggled growing up with happiness. I struggled growing up with God, and I found God not to be a source of much happiness in my life. I certainly didn't find Hebrew school to be much of a source of happiness in my life, or being Jewish You know, I remember in public school, I was beat up for killing Jesus. And I told the kids, I never played with the kid. I don't even know the kid. I never played with him. I didn't kill him. I really didn't kill him, you know? And so Judaism was not a source of joy for me. It was a source of much oi for me. And my journey has been a journey of trying to move from the oi of being Jewish to the joy of being Jewish. And I've struggled very much with how to share very deep ideas in simple ways without making it simplistic, but really getting to the essence. And my new project, I've written 8 books. Lately, I've been very active in production. And I've been writing animations, short animations, and producing animations. And what I want to do is share with you this morning an animation. And then after we're going to see the animation, it's just 3 minutes. We're going to go through the script, because basically these scripts that I've been writing are really, you know, a metaphor for some very deep Kabbalistic ideas that really I found incredibly helpful in my life. I believe it'll be helpful in your life. But essentially, I'm a wounded rabbi, right? And I've been trying to heal my wounds. And I think I'm much better at healing other people's wounds than my own, right? But thank God, you know, I guess that's why I've been put into this situation. So let me give you a little background on this particular animation. This animation is a dialogue between a mother and her son, right? The mother is a table lamp, and her son is a desk lamp. And they're going to have an interesting philosophical discussion about electricity in their life. And the little boy is going to tell his mother, "Mommy, I don't believe in electricity. Where is he?" Right? And how to find who we are, why we're here, and what ultimately will give us joy in our lives. Okay? So we're going to start the animation, and then we'll go through it together. Actually, before we start the animation, so we don't break up the flow, maybe we'll pass out the script right now. But don't look at the script. Just enjoy the animation. And then if you could just keep passing that around this way. Let's get a stack back there. Go that way. And, here we go. You know, one of the people I had the opportunity to teach Torah to, actually my oldest student who's about to be turning 100 years old, is an actor by the name of Kirk Douglas. And the first time I met Kirk Douglas, it's a long story, I'm not going to go into it, but he's coming to my house for Shabbat dinner, which is an interesting story. He actually wrote this story, and it was put in Chicken Soup for the Jewish Soul. And his first experience with Shabbat, and was at my wife in my home. And so he and I are standing on the rooftop of Israelite, which is my center, which is also where our yeshiva is housed, Oraita, which we have the pleasure of one of our alum over here joining us today. And so we're standing on the rooftop of Israelite Oraita, and Kirk, we haven't talked much at all. I picked him up at the King David Hotel. The whole time he's got sunglasses, so I can't see his eyes. And we're on the rooftop. The sun is setting. We're looking at the Kotel. Our rooftop oversees the Kotel, the Western Wall. And we're just standing there quietly. Kirk turns to me and says, he starts to sing the song of bringing in Shabbat. I was really surprised at that. And he looked at me, he says, "Rabbi, are you surprised? I'm an actor. I know my lines." Right? I grew up in a religious home, Rabbi. My mother baked challahs every Friday, right? I put on tefillin, right? I put on tefillin until I was 13. I said, "Kirk, you only start when you're 13. I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "But Rabbi, Judaism is all, you know, lines, no content." And I was surprised he said that. Said, "No, it's just a bunch of lines, but there's no content there." So I said, "Let me ask you something, Kirk. Imagine if you were to base your budget today on your understanding of money as a child. How would you be spending your money?" He said, "Well, I'll be wasting it on junk." I said, "Yeah, right." I said, "Kirk, imagine if you were to base your diet today on your understanding of food as a child. What would you be eating?" He said, "I'd be eating junk." I said, "That's right." I said, "So Kirk, Imagine if you were to base your Judaism, your Jewish identity today, on your understanding of being a Jew as a child. Now, I'm saying this to him when he's 79 years old, right? And he turns to me and he says, okay, checkmate, Rabbi. Are you telling me to grow up? I said, no, I'm not saying you should grow up. I'm just saying as we grow up, the words that we knew as children have to grow up with us. And that if the word love means the same to you today that it meant when you were 5 years old, then that's not good. Because you should have evolved. It's the same word, love, but the meaning and the depth of the experience and the implications of that should have evolved for you. But most Jews I've met, the word God hasn't changed for them since they're 5 years old. The word Torah hasn't changed for them since they're 5 years old. And then you're wondering, or they're wondering, well, of course I am not interested in Judaism. What, you think I'm a kid? You think I believe in some guy in the sky that's got thunderbolts and whatever, lightning bolts and, you know? And so this is a dialogue between the child's mind of, so to speak, the metaphor is electricity for God, and his mother trying to get him to experience and understand a more evolved understanding of God, your connection to God, and the implications in terms of the quality of your life.
Mommy, can I share something? But promise you won't get upset.
Of course.
I'm not sure I really believe in electricity.
Why, my love?
Well, where is he?
Electricity is the source and the life of our lives. He's beyond us and he's also within us.
But I don't feel him in my life.
Honey, he isn't in your life. He is your life. And my life and the life of all. The power of all powers. Electricity is lighting, heating, cooling.
You mean electricity's all of us put together?
Brilliant question. No, he's not the sum total of all powers. He is one, and we are one with him, a part of him.
So electricity breaks up into parts?
No. We're not a part of him like a slice of pizza. We are partial expressions of him.
So we're electricity?
Definitely not. Electricity is us, but we're not him. He's infinitely greater than us all. He is forever one and only, and yet through each new electrical device, another limited aspect of electricity is born into the world.
You just believe that?
I know that. It's self-evident. Honey, as you get to know yourself, it becomes ever more obvious that you are part of a greater self.
But religion is such a turnoff. Look at Freddie. He's an atheist, and he's so cool.
Freddie's a fridge. Whether he believes it or not, he's cool only because of electricity.
If we're anyways part of electricity, then what difference does it make if I believe or not? Will electricity punish me? Will he blow my fuse?
We are not punished for our disbeliefs, but by our disbeliefs. When we deny electricity and go against his will, we are really going against what we truly want deep inside. Service is not oppression, but self-expression.
Is that why Kobe the Coke machine had a sign on him that said out of service?
Uh-huh.
Mommy, what happens to us when we die? Is there light after death?
We never die. We just get unplugged and return back to electricity.
Huh?
Sweetheart, we're not lamps. That's just our bodies. We're light. We come from electricity, and to him we return.
Well, what about bad guys?
They do evil, but in essence they're not evil. They're just really confused and do bad because they think, this is my power and my strength and I can do what I please.
Well, what happens to them when they die?
You mean unplugged?
Oh yeah.
Evildoers are in for a big shock. They too will discover how all along they were a part of him and actually wronged and betrayed their own self. The shame will hurt like hell.
So they're going to hell?
Hell nor heaven is a place. It's a realization. All are destined to know that electricity is the one supreme self. This truth is hell for those who denied it, and heaven for those who lived it.
Mom, one more question?
No, that's it. This really isn't light bedtime conversation.
But I'm so turned on.
It's time to get some sleep. Good night, my bright boy.
All right, so you've got the script over here. We're going to go through the script, and I'm going to share with you some of the deeper meanings behind what I'm encoding in this little metaphor over here. So basically, it starts off, I've got it numbered so you can kind of follow along. Over here, we're looking at number 1. Mommy, can I share something? But promise you won't get upset. Of course, I'm not sure I really believe in electricity, right? Now imagine how crazy that is, right? That's what it means when we say we don't believe in God, right? That's like a light bulb saying I don't believe in electricity. You're connected to electricity right now. You're talking, you're experiencing, you're living because you're connected to this power. But because the power is so present and so constant, you don't even notice it, right? And so he's got this childish image that electricity is some king. We had a picture of this kingly looking guy with this lightning bolt, and he looks really angry and tough, right? And that's his image of electricity, because we all have this image of God. There's this cute little story about a little boy that's drawing, and the teacher comes up to him and says, "What are you drawing?" He says, "I'm drawing God." The teacher says, "Well, Joey, you can't draw God. I mean, nobody knows what God looks like." He says, "When I finish this picture, they will." Okay. So as children, we have a picture of God. But as we grow up, we have to realize there is no picture of God, right? But not only that, but the picture that you might have, right, could be really oppressive and could be undermining your joy, because you've got some angry, mean God who's out to get you, right? So she says, "Why not?" He says, "Well, where is he?" So she says, "Electricity is the source and life of our lives. He's beyond us and also within us." Okay? Now, most of us grew up understanding a God that's beyond us. God is some individual power somewhere over there looking at us from above, telling us what to do. But in Torah, according to our tradition, God is beyond us, but also within us. That's right, exactly. And so he says, "What? But I don't feel him in my life." You know why you don't feel him in life? She says, "Honey, he isn't in your life. He is your life." It's actually a verse in the Torah. Ki hu chayecha. That Hashem is your life. You want to feel God, just take your pulse. That is the presence of God right this second. Life. God is life. He's not just the source of life. He's not just giving you life as a gift from above. But God is life, but life isn't God, because God is much more than life. God is love, and much more than love. God is wisdom, and much more than wisdom. And the presence of God, when you understand God in a more evolved way, is always, everywhere, every moment, you're connected. So she says, "Honey, he's not in your life. He is your life, in my life, the life of all, the power of powers." Electricity is lighting, heating, cooling. So electricity is very abstract. When electricity becomes manifest through a light bulb, then the power of lighting becomes manifest. When electricity becomes manifest through a heater, then the power of heating becomes manifest. And when electricity is manifest through an air conditioner, then the power of cooling is manifest. You just met your soul. Right? That's what a soul is, right? If I were a heater, then electricity passing through me is now manifest as the power of heating. Right? If this person is an air conditioner, then the power of electricity manifests through them is the power of cooling, right? And the light bulbs, but they're all connected. Right now, the lights and the air conditioner, right? And if there was a heater in here, they're all connected to the same power. We're all connected to the same power. But we're all different, and yet we're all connected to the same power. Okay? So he says, "You mean electricity is all of us put together?" Right? He's trying to figure this out. This is very abstract for this child. So I had a picture of all those different electrical devices being, squashed together. Okay? She says, "Brilliant question. He's not the sum total of powers. He is one, and we are one with him, a part of him." You see, Kabbalah and Chassidus talks about this a lot. The Balatanya says that the soul, which is who you are. You are a soul, is a chelik Eloka mamash, is a piece of, a part of, a partial expression of God literally. Literally. Not just figurative, not poetically, right? And so imagine electricity, imagine a heater and an air conditioner and a light bulb having a discussion. And everyone one says, I'm hot. And one says, I'm cool. And one says, I'm brilliant. Right? And then they meet electricity. He says, I'm God. I'm the source of all your power. I am being expressed and revealed through each and every one of you. That's why when you say the Shemona Esrei, the 18 benedictions, it says the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the God who is kind, the God who is just, the God who is awesome. Abraham was a channel for the presence of God's greatness. Isaac was a channel for the presence of God's power. And Jacob was the channel for the power of God's awesomeness. And what that means is not for today. But what it means is you. There's the God of you. That every single one of us in our unique way, we're like an electrical device plugged into the electricity which is God. And God is flowing through every single one of us. And if we realize that, and if we live up to that, we're going to feel that. And we're going to feel really happy. We're going to feel so energized. We're going to feel so connected. We're going to feel so powerful. But as long as we think that God is somebody over there controlling our lives from a distance, then it's overwhelming, it's oppressive, and it feels like something about my sense of self is robbed. But that's not the Jewish understanding of God. Our relationship to God is like the relationship of a lamp to electricity. And electricity, partial manifestation of electricity, which is the power of lighting, is going through that light. And a partial manifestation of electricity going through the air conditioner is the power of cooling. And every single one of us is a channel for the presence of the one self, the one soul, the one electrical field, so to speak, the one life force that is moving through us. Moving through us. Here, I want to do a little meditation with you. The Arizal of Isaac Luria, the great Kabbalist, had the ability to diagnose people. And I want to do that with you, okay? He would have people visualize the name of God. Now, we're talking about the Hebrew name, which is the Yud. So close your eyes for a second, right? And imagine, if you know Hebrew letters, imagine the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, the Hey. Just visualize the name of God, okay? Now, I don't know your names, okay? But I'm going to ask you to kind of call out, okay? What color are your letters? Just call out. Black, purple, silver, white. Now, isn't that interesting? Yellow. People have different colors. That says something about you and your connection to God. Okay, what about the background? What color is the background? Call out some colors. White. What else? Blue. Green. Now, isn't this interesting? You've never seen that. If you ever saw the name of God, you saw it in a siddur, and it was black and white. And yet, when you close your eyes and visualize the name of God, you come up with these psychedelic pictures. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're giving at the teen room over there, right? But you guys are coming up with, okay, well, what about this? The Arizal will then ask, okay, what letters are you having a hard time visualizing? Anybody having a particular letter they're having a hard time visualizing? The Vav. I was afraid somebody would say that. Okay, you can stay, though, in the class. It's okay. Right, the Vav. What else? The second Hey. Not the first one, but the second Hey. Any other letters you're having a hard time visualizing?
I'm picturing it like Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Oh, whoa. You don't even have it horizontal. You have it vertical. Okay? Is there a part of a letter that you can't see, the Arizal would ask? Any parts of the letters that you couldn't see? You can see the letter, but there's a part of it that you can't see.
The Vav is the bottom half.
The bottom half of the Vav you can't see?
It's like keeps coming in and out.
Well, I'll have to talk to your husband about that. Okay, well, we'll have a discussion about your Vav, okay? Anyways, the Arizal would do this. He'd take down all these notes. Some people would see fiery letters. Some people would see white letters on black background. Some people would see black letters on fiery backgrounds. And he writes this. And based on that, he would diagnose you and tell you what is your ailing. What is your physical ailing? Right? And then he would tell you which mitzvah or which particular Jewish law, halakha, you'd be negligent in because it's causing this blockage. Now, what was the Arizal doing? Right? It's very simple. You are meant to be a projector, a channel of God into the world. And your ability to visualize the name of God is reflecting where we could call the spiritual cholesterol is building up. There's a blockage. So it's like electricity trying to get through the lamp and it's flickering and light isn't coming through. Or electricity is trying to get through the air conditioner and heat's coming out. Something's blocked over here. So our goal to be happy is to be so ourselves, so aligned with who we are as a unique channel and vehicle for the presence of God in the world, that when we would visualize the name, it would all be clear. It would all be clear. Isn't that amazing? That's what it means to be happy. We are happy when we're being who we are. And who are we? We're a partial manifestation of no less than God. If I'm a lamp, I'll be happy if I'm serving electricity to be a vehicle for the power of light to come to the world. And if I were an air conditioner, I would be happy if I was serving to be a vehicle for the power of cooling to come to the world. And if I were a heater, then I'd be happy if I were a vehicle for channeling the power of heating in the world. And we would be happy together if we knew we shared the same God. And there's nothing to fight about. You've got your way. I've got my way. I'm trying to convince everybody to be cool like me. No, you don't have to be cool like me. Everyone's trying to think you should be hot like me. No, you don't have to be hot like you. You just have to be you. Right? And that to me was a big surprise that I didn't know about Judaism. I didn't think Judaism could care less about me. It was all about making God happy and making me miserable. Right? Because I want that double cheeseburger. And I want the Ronnie McDonald mug with it. Right? And it was only 99 cents and I'm Jewish. Right? I want that. And I got to give all that up. Right? I'm not giving up anything. When you really understand that basically what Judaism is doing is aligning ourselves so that we are consciously plugged into the source and the vitality of life, so that we're channeling God into the world in the unique way that you and only you can channel. But there's blockage. Right? And it's how to move out those blockages. So we go on. So look at number 4. So we're electricity, he says? What? Wait a second, we're God? She says, definitely not. Electricity is us, but we're not him. In other words, is electricity the power of cooling? What do you think? Is electricity the power of cooling? Yes. But is the power of cooling electricity? No, because electricity is also the power of heating. But is the power of heating electricity? No, it's only a part of electricity. And so you are a part of God. Literally, a part of God. Just like the power of cooling is a partial expression of electricity. But we're all connected. So she says, no, electricity is us, but we're not him. He is infinitely greater than us all. He is forever one and only. And yet through each new electrical device, another limited aspect of electricity is born in the world. Isn't that amazing? There's endless manifestation of God. Every new person born in the world is a new manifestation of God. Isn't that incredible? Nobody is the same. Just like your fingerprint will never be repeated in all of history, so too your soul print will never be repeated in history. And you owe it to all of us, and you owe it to God to be yourself and channel the unique aspect of God that you were meant to channel into the world. And so, And yet through each new electrical device, another limited aspect of electricity is born in the world. So he says, you just believe that? Where is this based? What's this all based on? How do I know there really is electricity? How do I know there really is a God? So we're looking at number 5. She says, I don't just believe that. I know that. How could you know God? We have a mitzvah to know God, not to just believe God, not just to hope that God exists, not to have wishful thinking or say, it serves me well to believe that there's a God, but I really don't know. So flip a coin, why not? She says, no, I know. You know why? It's self-evident. And according to Judaism, God is self-evident because God is our self. Not yourself, not myself. Our self, the one self that we are all expressions of. And therefore, when a person is truly in touch with themselves, then it's clear, it's obvious, it's self-evident that I am part of a greater self. I'm part of a greater power. The powers within me are not from me. I didn't teach myself to think. I didn't teach my heart to beat. I didn't teach my heart to love. I don't even know how to do what I do all day long. I talk, I move. I don't even know how to do this, right? And I get paid for doing what I don't even know how to do, right? I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to move. I'm moving my hand. I don't even know how to do that. This is my wisdom. Clearly, I'm plugged into a power much greater than myself. And that's what we mean when we say God, is that experience of being plugged into a power much greater than ourselves. And as soon as you start looking for God, you lost him. Right? Because looking for God starts with the premise that God's somewhere over there. I got to go look for him. It's not self-evident. Because somebody convinced you that God is somebody over there. God isn't somebody over there. Right this very second. God is speaking through me. God is listening through you. I'm not God, you're not God. But there's really nothing but God. And we're all different colors in the spectrum of one light. We're all different facets and powers of one electricity. So she says, I know that it's self-evident, honey. As you get to know yourself, it becomes ever more obvious that you're part of a greater self. You know, when I was a teenager, I loved rock concerts. I loved rock concerts. I did not grow up a religious kid. I did not grow up in a traditional home. And I used to go to all these rock concerts. I remember my first rock concert, thousands of people in this auditorium. And suddenly, in the middle of the concert, everybody's holding a match. Now today, people hold their cell phones. This is a desecration of rock and roll, okay? This is, I don't know, this is for altar rockers like me, you know? I don't know. It's the end of rock and roll, right? But when I was a rock and roller, people would hold a match. I remember looking around the room, thousands of people holding a match. And I wanted to hold a match. I didn't have a match. Excuse me, can I have a match? Do you have a match? Can I get a match? And I felt so good until I saw the match coming closer to my fingers. And then I realized everybody had lighters. And but what was so amazing about that? What was amazing about that, it's a ritual. That's a ritual. You know what rituals are about? They're very rich rituals. Because what they do is they release from within the unconscious a truth. They're all part of one light. We're all part of one fire. We're all part of one energy. And we just wanted to be one. That's all we want to do is be one. Because we understand that there's one electricity, one God, one spirit, one soul, and we're different colors, spectrums, facets of that oneity. Not unity, because unity suggests there's separation that's being overcome. There was never separation. We're all connected to God, and we're all connected to each other through God. Right now. No matter whether you're Jewish or not. Whether you keep the mitzvahs or not. The question is, do you know it? Do you feel it? Do you live it? Do you get the joy that's waiting to come to you because of it? So she says, we're all part of one greater self. And I remember I loved going to those rock concerts. I waited for that moment. Guys, when are we going to do the link? Guys, come on. Because it was like, yes, I got past my loneliness, right? I got past the feeling alone and getting to the all one. Ever think of that? Alone and all one are the same letters, except one added L. And it's about moving from alone to all one. We're all one. Not one and the same, but we're all one. And so, look at number 6. If we're anyways part of electricity, then what difference does it make if I believe or not? If we're all connected to God, if God is becoming present in the world through each and every one of us anyways, will electricity punish me? Will he blow my fuse? He's still stuck with this God who's trying to hurt him, who's trying to get him. So she says, we are not punished for our disbeliefs, but by our disbeliefs. Because the more you believe that there is no God, then you just came here for a short trip and you'll be gone. I can't imagine how that's going to give anybody happiness. Or the more you believe that there is a God, but I got to pay him to keep him happy. I got to bribe him to protect myself from his wrath. You're not going to be happy. But when you understand that and you believe that God is the soul of our souls and that each and every one of us in our unique way is literally no less than a partial expression of God coming in the world. And that's my service. What's your service? Hopefully my service is to bring more of God's wisdom in the world. Maybe the artists in this room, their service to bring more of God's beauty in the world. But serve to be the channel for the power that's waiting to become present in the world because of you. And that will give you joy. So she says, we are not punished for our sins, but by our sins. When we deny electricity and go against his will, we are really going against what we truly want deep inside. Service is not oppression, but self-expression. You see, if somebody would have said that to me when I was Hebrew school, I'd laugh. That's ridiculous. God doesn't want me to tear toilet paper on Shabbat. I don't know what his thing is. He's got something with toilet paper. Right? I don't know why it bothers him. I went and ripped it, just to get in his face. Yeah, I'll show you. I ripped the toilet paper. Yeah, go ahead. Lock me in the washroom. Go ahead. What? This creates rebellion. It feels like a religion where it's my will or his will. And, if it's not his will, then he'll stop me. He'll get me. I remember when I was a teenager, I saw this underground film. I don't know why they called them underground film, because they were actually overground, right, in a theater, right? But it was called an underground film. It was called Bambi Meets Godzilla. It was not a long film. It was very short. It starts off like this. Bambi is grazing in the field. There's this serene, tranquil music in the background. Bonk! And you see this huge foot of Godzilla step on Bambi, and that's the end of the film. It was literally 1 minute film with 10 minutes of credits. Bambi's makeup by, Bambi's costume by, Godzilla's nails by, right? And I thought, when I was a kid, that God is Godzilla. Ever wonder why that monkey's called Godzilla? I think a lot of people sadly think that at Sinai we met Godzilla. And Godzilla said, do this, do that, do this, or I'll step on you. Right? So a lot of people just rather not believe in God than believe in a God that just seems so angry and so hard to please and always makes me feel right about myself because I can never be as good as him. And then he gives me this Yetzer Hara, he gives me this evil inclination to struggle with, throws me in a world full of seduction, and then judges me for all that. It's such a confused understanding of God. But it's worse than that. It can destroy your life. Because you don't know who you are, you don't know why you are, you don't know what your connection is to the source of your life. So she's saying service is not oppression, it's self-expression. Judaism claims that if we were really in touch with ourselves, we would naturally want to celebrate Shabbat. If we were in touch with ourselves, we would naturally want to eat kosher. Well, being at a retreat like this, we naturally want to eat as much kosher as we can. With second dessert at night. Okay. So look at number 7. Is that why Kobe the Coke machine had a sign on him that said, out of service? right? That's exactly the point. You don't want to be out of service. It's all about being in service. But service is not depriving. Service is not diminishing. That's like a light bulb saying, I don't want to serve electricity. What are you talking about? That's what you're all about. That's your joy. That's your power. Serve electricity and be the source or be the vehicle for the power of lighting to come into the world. That's your joy. And so Mommy says, yeah. Number 8, Mommy, what happens to us when we die? Is there light after death? She says we never die. We just get unplugged and return back to electricity. So where was the power of lighting before there was a light bulb? It was always there in electricity, but just not manifest. In Hasidus, it would be called, it was there in a state of not being there. Bittul yesh, right? But it was there, but it wasn't there. But when somebody invented the light bulb, suddenly the power of lighting that was always inherent and ready to be born out of electricity was born. Right? And then the power of heating until somebody created an oven, right? A stove. Where was the power of heating before that? So according to Kabbalah, you as a soul were always within the divine, but in a state of, so to speak, bittul, nullification. You had no presence. But when you were born into this body, then that unique facet of God became present in the world. And you are no less than a facet of God. As I say, you're, so to speak, a piece of God. You're a masterpiece, a piece of the master in this world. And don't ever treat yourself less than that. Nobody. No matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how many times you blew it, no matter how many people you annoyed, that'll never change the fact. And neshama tohorahi, the soul, the essence, the you, the godly you. And so many people are miserable because we got bad sense of self, low self-esteem. We come into this world, and how are you going to have good self-esteem when you're around all these adults? And they're always getting it right. And they're always telling you how you're getting it wrong. And they're always reminding you how you didn't get it right. Right? It's so hard to feel good about yourself. And Judaism came to teach us that you should feel phenomenal about yourself. Because you were created in no less than in the image of God. You are a vehicle, a channel for something about God that nobody ever, not in all of history, there's something you can do in this world that even Moses wasn't able to do. Because if he could have, you would not have been born. Not even Rabbi Akiva was able to do. Because if he could have, then you wouldn't be born. So why are we wasting our times comparing ourselves to other people when this lamp brings this facet of electricity in the world, and that lamp brings a whole different facet of electricity in the world? Just do your thing. Be yourself. Love who you are. Be who you are. And be in service of the one self, one soul, one God, one life force of the universe. And so he says, well, so what happens when we die? Well, so what happens when you turn the light off? Where did the power of lighting go? It went back to electricity. You're not going to die. Nobody's going to die. There's no such thing as death. Right? Rav Kook explains that death is an illusion. Again, don't try this at home. Right? Right? Death is an illusion. The body dies. Right? They turn off the switch. But the true essence, the power of light, is just back into electricity. But then what happens? He says, sweetheart, we're not lamps. That's just our bodies. We're light. We come from electricity, and to him we return. You're not your body. You have a body. You are a soul. And a soul is a facet of God. And this is a secret to agelessness. You know why? You know, it's silly. Do you feel old when you realize that your car is 30 years old? Someone says, how old is your car? 30. Oh, you're really old. This is my car. It's not me. It's my car. I'm a soul. I'm a part of God. God is ageless. And the more you believe that, the more you receive that, the more you live that, the more you feel that. I shared the first day, my father passed away at age 83, 2 weeks before he left this world, and he had 10 years of real challenging medical problems, right? The last leg of his trip was really not fun. And he looked at me and said, I don't understand. I'm no different than when I was 17 years old. In my head, I'm still 17. He was young. Rabbi Nachman of Bretzl says it's forbidden to get old. But you look at the wrinkles on your face. I'm getting old. You're not getting old. You can't get old. You're a piece of God. You're an expression of God. Your body's getting old. So what? You get another one, right? Right? All right, you'll drop that. And you'll transport some other ways, you know. So he doesn't understand this. So she says, sweetheart, we're not lamps. That's just our bodies. We're light. We come from electricity. And to him we return. It says that when Abram passed away, he was gathered up into his nation. What does that mean? When Moses passed away, he is gathered up into his nation. What does that mean? It means that you and I share one collective self called the Jewish people. And within the Jewish people are individual expressions of the Jewish people. And when you as a soul leave your body, you just reconnect consciously to the collective soul of the Jewish people, which is connected to the universal soul of all mankind. And so he says, wait a second. So we came from electricity and we go back to electricity. So what about the bad guys? So she says they do evil, but in essence, they're not evil. Right? In essence, you can't be evil in essence. You're a soul. They're just really confused, and they do bad because they think this is my power, this is my strength, I can do as I please. In Hebrew, it's kochi ve'otzim yadi. You think this is your power. This is not your power. If you knew that your power for art was God's power, then you would use it responsibly to promote God consciousness in the world. Not just for you to be famous and make a lot of money. There's something more important, more fulfilling that you would do. You would use it to promote a greater awareness that we're all part of oneself. One electricity, so to speak. So they're confused. The Torah says that a person doesn't sin unless they have a moment of insanity. I went a little crazy. You never lose your temper and you say, I'm sorry, I lost myself. Yeah, you lost yourself. Not that that's an excuse, right? That's not an excuse, right? But you got to be crazy not to want to live your life aligned with the source of your life, the very life of your life. All right? So number 10, well then what happens to them when they die? You mean get unplugged. Nobody dies. Oh yeah. Evildoers are in for big shock. They too will discover how all along they were a part of him and actually wronged and betrayed their own self. The shame will hurt like hell. You see, when I was a kid, I thought there was a place called hell that you go to. And then there's a place called heaven that you go to. From this place, which I thought was a place. But according to Kabbalah, this isn't a place. This is a perception. This is a perception. It's kind of like a dream. You ever been in a dream? And then you kind of like, I hope this is a dream. I'm not enjoying this. And you try to wake yourself up. Ever have that experience of like, I got to get out of this. I hope this is a dream. You try to wake yourself up, and then you're kind of in the dream and yet out of the dream, trying to get out of the dream. And then you wake up and you realize that all those people and all that space and all that time that you were in was actually in you. And this is in us. We think we're in this room. We think we're in this building. Right? We think we're in this world. But this world is in us. And that's based on your perception of who you are and your connection to God. And so when a person thinks they have no connection to God and they die, and then suddenly the truth of their connection to God is in front of them, you know what that's called? It's a 4-letter word. H-E-L-L. That's hell. It's the shame that I lived a lie. I was a part of the divine. My joy would have been to serve, to bring electricity, to bring the presence of God in the world in the unique way I could have done, and help other people do the same. And I just lived selfishly, disconnected, when I was always connected. And I betrayed myself. But if I lived my life in service, if I lived my life connected, if I knew that we all share one self, one soul, one God, and He is the power of all powers, the soul of our souls, and I live that, and then I get unplugged, and then I go back, and it's all being confirmed. Oh, wow. That's called heaven. Right? And we'll see a place. It will look like a place, but you realize that it's a realization of the truth. And that will be our joy. And so she says, hell nor heaven is a place, it's a realization. All are destined to know that electricity is the one supreme self. This truth is hell for those who denied it, and heaven for those who lived it. And you can have heaven on earth. And that's what Torah came to give us. Torah life came to give us heaven on earth. Because it's all about living a lifestyle that enables us to access our true self as part of a greater self, to become whole. A whole part is a part of a whole. And we're all part of a whole. We're all part of one unbroken self, one unbroken soul. And it's all about be you. Be yourself. But your true self is part of a greater self. And so is the true self of the person next to you. And we're here to bring more and more of God's greatest gift to us in the world, which is His presence. Thank you so much.